Two-time WWE Hall of Famer Ric Flair confirms he passed out not once but twice during his final match. We've got details about that and more details about his final match ever. Perhaps. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. And yeah, we've got to talk about Ric Flair's last match again. Because it was obviously, clearly a complete car wreck of a match. The event itself was very good and very successful, it must add. Reports out there that they drew a massive gate and they did very well for pay-per-view buys too. Congratulations to Conrad Thompson and this whole team at Ad-Free Shows, because I thought they put on a good show, genuinely a good show. The main event was a complete train wreck, and whilst people were celebrating it inside the arena, and whilst people inside the arena by all accounts very much enjoyed the match and enjoyed the spectacle, and I'm sure they did, the atmosphere inside the arena was very good. Watching it at home was 1, terrifying, 2, a little bit sad, and 3, just no. just no. But during the match itself, there were definitely points where Ric Flair appeared to be flustered, winded, confused, and there were a lot of people concerned, obviously, just in general, due to his health. Obviously, he's got a pacemaker, he had the issues with the intestines, he's on blood thinners, he's got the inner ear stuff. I mean, there is a plethora of health issues that Ric Flair has had over the course of the last decade, leading to, again, people going, why on earth was he wrestling in the match? But there were clips and GIFs going around on social media that appeared to have Ric Flair saying to his son-in-law, Andrade El Idolo, I passed out at the end of the match. In fact, he did his speech after the match where he thanked the fans and said, I don't remember half of the match, implying that either he got a concussion or he passed out. Well, Ric Flair, on the latest edition of his podcast, has confirmed that he did indeed pass out on a couple of occasions, and he says it was due to dehydration. But Ric Flair blacked out twice during his last match. As I mentioned, on July 31st, the WWE Hall of Famer wrestled for the first time in 11 years, since 2011, at the Ric Flair's last match event. He teamed up with his son-in-law Andrade El Idolo to defeat Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal. Now, speaking on his To Be The Man podcast, Flair discussed his return to the ring and revealed that he did indeed pass out twice during the bout. Hat tip to Fightful here for the transcription. He said, quote, I don't think people realize that I passed out twice. Well, what happened was my regimen for training was so strict that I kept my weight. I wanted my perfect weight to be like 220 going in. So the last day and a half, aside from all the work that we had planned to do, I didn't hydrate. I had it in my mind that I had to weigh 219. So I went to the ring and I'm like 217 pounds. And what actually happened during the body of the match is I just became dehydrated. I actually, when I was standing on the apron, I looked at Jay, which started a wheel of motion. I said, man, I think I'm getting sick, because I was getting lightheaded. Nothing to do with my heart or nothing to do with my intestines. I was getting lightheaded. I'm sure a lot of it was nerves as well. So I think Jay said, guys, we got to move this along, when that isn't what I meant. But to the point when Andrade came over and said, your turn, sir, your turn. So I got in. I didn't know where we were in the match because I'd missed out about clearly 10 seconds of it. Flair continued by noting he went to the outside because he wanted to slow the match down. In hindsight, he stated he didn't mean to scare anyone who thought something was wrong at this point in the contest. And this is where I think he's referring to him feigning a heart attack and all this kind of stuff. He said, quote, so when I went to the outside, I think everybody just jumped the gun a little bit. And I saw where Booker T, who's a really close friend of mine, thought it was in bad taste to do this. That was strictly on the fly to get everybody to slow down. Because everybody, if you look back on it, everybody just all came together at one time. We were far from the end of the match, so I just said to myself, how do I get everybody to slow down? That wasn't anticipated, that wasn't called, I just did it. I apologize if I scared anybody, but I couldn't think of any way to reorganize because we had to have everybody, we had everybody on the floor at one time, which was never planned out like that, Flair said. Flair then kept recapping the match. Then Jeff, out of respect for me, he lifted me up to the top turnbuckle, and Jay was going to give me a superplex, which would have blown the roof off the joint, but he was worried about my health. Jeff, sincerely, he said, we can't do that, Nate, we can't do it. I said, yes, I can. So rather than look awkward, I came down with him, and Jay came in and gave me the suplex, and we were back rolling. The WWE Hall of Famer then described how he passed out once again for the second time during the guitar shot, saying, quote, then at that point, along came the guitar, right? Down bingo. While I was down, I passed out again. I just passed out. And Andrade is going, sir, you have to wake up. I have the brass knuckles. Sir, you have to wake up. Then I woke up. I knew where we were and we were back home. But I swear to God, twice during the match, I went completely black. Flair made it clear he went black due to dehydration, and as soon as he drank some Gatorade at the Undertaker's request, he felt better. Quote, my hands started trembling, but it was all dehydration. I had 2 doctors in there right away with me and everything, and the Undertaker came running in. I had like 6 beers there. He took them out of my hand and said, you're drinking 2 Gatorades first. So I drank 2, and that's all it was. I underestimated the importance of keeping hydrated, which is really big, especially when I lost that much weight and trained that hard. Well, look, he can say it's dehydration, and maybe it was. I have watched the podcast back, and I would recommend to watch the podcast back, because it's one thing to read these comments. It's another thing to hear me say them, but it's another thing entirely to hear them from the proverbial horse's mouth, in this term, Ric Flair. Possibly they were due to dehydration. I think it's wild that a guy in his 70s, 72, 73 years of age, not only is wrestling a match with the numerous health issues that he had, but then also on top of that, you know, he's got all of these health issues and then he didn't stay hydrated. That is madness. That is madness. At his age, in his condition, being dehydrated is enough for something really, really bad to happen. He passed out. Who knows what could have happened? So for him to be blasé and be like, oh, well, you know, dehydration is what it is. No. That was not a good thing. And it's almost like he's trying to justify it as if he's going to have another one. This is why I would recommend go back and listen to the podcast. You can tell he doesn't want it to end. He said in the opening stages, my one regret is that I wish I hadn't said it was my last match. He wants to do it again. He feels like he can do it again. And he's saying throughout the podcast, I knew I could have done it better. I know I could have done it better, because he feels like, because of this dehydration thing, it wasn't the perfect match. Even though after the match, he said it was perfect and it was great and all this, that, and the other. I would place good money right now that Ric Flair will wrestle again, which is wild to say, absolutely wild to say, because again, he's in his 70s, the numerous health issues that he has, but the way that he's talking in this podcast says to me, he feels like, I tell you what, it was good, I'm fine. The only reason I blacked out twice was because I was dehydrated, not because I'm in my 70s and I'm wrestling, not because I've got a pacemaker in my heart, not because I've got these issues with my intestines, not because I've got the inner ear issues, not because I'm on blood thinners. No, none of that. None of that. It was just because I was dehydrated. No, it's because you're wrestling a match in your 70s. You should not be doing that in your 70s, even if you're the most healthy person in the world, which Ric Flair clearly is not. So my concern is, after witnessing and being just terrified as a fan of Ric Flair's work in the past, forget the controversies, I like you know, but as a fan of what he's achieved in the past and as the character, and watching that match, just being terrified, watching it through my fingers like this, because I'm thinking what's going to happen to him, and knowing that he passed out twice, and at several points thinking that's something wrong, and it wasn't a work, there was stuff wrong during that match with him, because he admits he passed out twice. The fact that he's sort of saying, well, you know, I just wish I hadn't said it was my last one, and well, you know, it wasn't perfect because I was dehydrated, and he was in Puerto Rico this past weekend, which was booked before they even came up with the idea of the last match stuff, but he's getting physical with Carlos Colon. They were saying to him in Puerto Rico, why don't you have a match here? Why don't you have another match here? Why couldn't you have a match here? And he said, I've been offered a lot of money to have more matches. And he says it's not about money, and I'm sure it isn't. It's about, I guess, pride and about ego. It always is with Ric Flair. So I saw this and I went, oh, here we go. The justification to have another match has already begun. And that's my concern. So let me know your thoughts on Ric Flair's comments in the comment section below. Be sure to like and subscribe to Wrestle News 365, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.